unique American right, required that everyone from the government that wanted anything from a private person had to go to a neutral judge and swear an oath and present evidence to that judge as to why the person's right to privacy should be violated. Now, we all know what happened on 9/11. And many of you live right here. Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Lower Manhattan. None of those is more than a day's ride from here. Many of you probably know victims of 9/11. I did. A lot of us at Fox did. I happened to have been in New Jersey the morning when it happened, and we all have horrific memories, and it was one of the darkest days in American history. But, my friends, assaults by fanatics on our safety does not justify assaults by the government on our freedom. The Bush administration went to the Congress and said we have to have the Patriot Act. And we need it right now because the terrorists are under every bedpost and behind every toilet and inside every refrigerator. And if we don't have these powers, we will not be kept safe. And so the Patriot Act, which is 315 pages long, which basically amends hundreds and hundreds of other statutes. So in order to read the Patriot Act, you not only need the act itself in front of you, you need the entire United States Code, which is about the size of 8 or 10 sets of Encyclopedia Britannica. I've read it 3 times, and it takes about 20 hours to read each time. The Patriot Act was posted on the House intranet, the internal internet, to which only members of the House of Representatives and their senior staff have access, for 15 minutes before the vote. There was no debate on the floor of the House, and the Patriot Act was enacted.
And so goes modern American history. My friends, you know, you want to talk about what's happening in this country. The judge just said it all. Every word he said was golden. But the last thing he said was the most special of all. It took him 20 hours to go through everything you need to go through to know what the Patriot Act is. Legislators were given 15 minutes. Surely that kind of ramrod among lawmakers has not been seen since the last tin pot dictator. It was seen in the Soviet Union. It was seen in Nazi Germany. It's been seen in Korea. It's been seen in Arab countries. America's supposed to be better. 15 minutes. Item. At the urging of Turkey, the United States has prevented Israel from participating in the Global Counterterrorism Forum's first meeting in Istanbul. Washington-based sources are reporting that Turkish President Erdogan, a close confidant of President Obama, insisted on excluding Israel despite Israel's vast experience in counterterrorism. Globes has reported that one-third of the GCTF, Global Counterterrorism Forum's participants are Islamic nations, some of whom are known supporters of terrorism. Stop! My friends, we're going to be having a forum on protecting chickens. We're going to be inviting a lot of foxes into the hen house to talk about how to protect chickens. A third of all the participants are Islamic nations, which either commit or support acts of terror. They will be sitting in on an anti-terrorism forum, but Israel will not. Do you get it? Thanks to our president, Mr. Obama. Republicans are charging that the Obama administration is trying to strengthen ties with the Islamic world at Israel's expense. Stop. No, really? Come on, you're kidding. He's never done that before, has he? My friends, as an audience, in toto, you guys are a very hip and sharp and savvy group of people. You know that we're in a war. I don't mean Afghanistan, and I don't mean Iraq. I mean we're in a war against global jihad. What side is Obama on? He doesn't appear to be on our side, does he? Doesn't at all. David Rubin, the former mayor of Shiloh in Israel and straight-talking political analyst, is saying, quote, "This is 1984 all over again. What we have here is a surreal anti-terrorist gathering consisting of countries that support the Hamas and other terrorist organizations. That such countries would refuse Israel's participation doesn't come as a surprise. What is disturbing is the American acceptance of this refusal, which reveals this forum to be nothing but a Hillary-orchestrated stage show with little, if any, counterterrorism substance," unquote. That's exactly what it is. David Rubin, who's been a guest on the show, is right. It's a farce. It's a comedy. It's a tragedy, all rolled into one. Don't forget, for you people who have read the Bible, you must have read the fact that those who bless Israel, the Jewish people, are blessed, and those who curse it are cursed. Well, you, through your leader, are cursing Israel. What does that mean for you and your family? You are members in a country that is increasingly cursing the Jewish people. Good? No, it's not good. We have an election coming up in November. What are you going to do about it? We'll be back with more Real Truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Phillips, founder of the Green Herb.
The people who are controlling the government of America are the same people who are trying to control your family's health care. You can sit quietly by and accept their plan, or you can take responsibility for your health. What would happen if you could no longer obtain the medications you're now taking? Would you be forced to join the ranks of corrupt agents just to purchase the medicine? If you're one of the thousands of concerned citizens who would like to know more about a natural way, God's way to health, drop by the Green Herb for a natural solution and all the information you need to make an intelligent decision. Or go to our website, www.thegreenherb.com. Come by the Green Herb, located in Wheat Ridge, Colorado, on the I-70 Frontage Road North, 1 mile west of Kipling, or call 888-765-HERB. That's 888-765-4372. And be sure to listen to the Green Herb Show with Linda and Dr. Cass every Tuesday at 1 o'clock on KHNC.
Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. CINN Stations in Alt salutes our troops. Whether you're for the war or against it, they're still there. These men and women deserve more than our support. They deserve the comfort of home. Send a military care package today. Just type military care package into a search engine. Point and click. Let's show our troops we care. This message from CINN Stations in Alt, wishing Godspeed to our fighting men and women and thanking them for their triumphs and their sacrifices. The Beth Messiah congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal mid-Rosh and fellowship. Beth Messiah congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
Folks, welcome back to Real Truth. A few days ago, I told you about Jesse Ventura's new book, the Democrats and the Republicans. Anyway, he's going to be on this show next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. He'll be here. I'm going to talk about the book. I'm going to talk about other things. Right now, here's a Vorspeise, as we say in Yiddish. Here's a foretaste, an appetizer. Jesse Ventura on CNN being interviewed by Piers Morgan about the Republicans and the Democrats.
Well, I just think to save our country, we need to abolish the political parties, make them political action committees. And there's one thing we could do to start off with. Why do we put, and I refer to them as the Democrats and the Republicans because they call the blue states Democrats. Well, that's also the colors of the Crips, blue. And naturally, the blood's color is red, and the Republican states are called red states.
And for those who don't know what you're talking about, these are two of the most infamous gangs. It started in Los Angeles, the Bloods and the Crips. They want to kill each other, and they wear these colors, the blues and the reds. So you're basically likening the politicians in Washington these days to gang leaders and gang members. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true, and they're worse. Let me explain why they're worse. The Crips and the Bloods, the street gangs, well, they can be devastating to a certain small part of the population. The Democrats and the Republicans, the Democrats and Republicans, they affect everybody in this country. And they've been in charge for over 100 years. So how can they say they're not responsible for the horrible state that our country's in today? Our debt is beyond control. We've got politics now where, as Jeb Bush said, there's no compromise anymore. Nothing gets done. If Obama wants to do this, the Republicans are opposed to it. If the Republicans want to do something, the Democrats are opposed to it. The best thing we could do is on every ballot remove all gang names and gang symbols. Allow them to only run on their names. That way it becomes important that the voter educate themselves. What does John Smith stand for? And because right now when you go into
Okay, my friends, we ran into the famous Howard Riell talent for technology. The tape just kind of grunches out there, and that's okay. We've heard enough of it. Jesse Ventura will be here on Tuesday. We'll be talking about politics. We'll be talking about pro wrestling as a metaphor for life, and believe me, it is a wonderful and accurate metaphor. Item from the LA Times, Dateline, D.C. The Great Recession took such a heavy toll on the economy that the typical American family lost nearly 40% of its wealth from 2007 to 2010, shaving the median net worth to a level not seen since the early 1990s. The biggest impact was felt by young middle-aged families, those headed by people ages 35 to 44. For this group, the median net worth, total assets minus debts, fell a whopping 54% in the 3-year period to $42,100 in 2010. Such was their financial hardships that only 47.6% of these families said they saved money in 2010. That was the lowest among all age groups, where an overall average of 52% of families saved some money that year, unquote. My friends, here it is in English. Our economy is in the crapper. And you can thank the big shots on Wall Street and in Washington for doing it to us, by the way, intentionally. Item from the Libertarian Review. Since President Barack Obama was inaugurated in January 2009, the Federal Reserve's holdings of U.S. government debt have quintupled, according to the Fed's official monthly balance sheet. On January 28, 2009, a week after Obama's nomination, the Fed owned $302 billion in U.S. Treasury securities. On April 25, 2012, the latest date reported, the Fed owned 5.5 times that much in U.S. Treasury securities, $1.668 trillion. That's an increase from January 2009 of $1.366 trillion, or 452%. Unquote. So the Fed becomes more powerful instead of less powerful. The Fed, which is our number one enemy, which is what steals our wealth and cripples our economy and devalues our money, our friends in Washington are doing such a good job at watching out for us that the monster that's eating us alive is getting bigger and stronger. Item from Yahoo News, Dateline, Brussels. This comes from AP. European officials are working on a range of contingency scenarios covering action that could be to control the movement of people and money in the event of Greece abandoning the euro currency. A European Union spokesman admitted Tuesday. Stop. Let me read those key words again, my friends. To control the movement of people and money. More control. More chaos, more control. More financial turmoil, more control. More lawlessness, more unrest, more control. Do you begin to see a pattern? It's almost as if someone was doing it on purpose. Item from the Economic Collapse blog. Back in 1983, approximately 50 corporations controlled the vast majority of all news media in the United States. Today, ownership of the news media has been concentrated in the hands of just 6 incredibly powerful media corporations. These corporate behemoths control most of what we watch, hear, and read every single day. They own television networks, cable channels, movie studios, newspapers, magazines, publishing houses, music labels, and even many of our favorite websites. Sadly, most Americans don't even stop to think about who's feeding them the endless hours of news and entertainment that they constantly ingest. Most Americans don't really seem to care about who owns the media, but they should. The truth is that each of us is deeply influenced by the messages that are constantly being pounded into our heads by the mainstream media. The average American watches 153 hours of television a month. Stop! America, shame on you! Shame on you! Over the last 2+ centuries, good men and women have died, left orphans and widows defending your right to read and look at what you choose. And this is what we choose. 153 hours a month of television, of sitcoms, of reality shows, of brainless news broadcasts. The Wives of New York, The Wives of Los Angeles, kitchen nightmares, baseball. This is why people died? To defend our right to watch this dreck? The average American watches 153 hours of television a month. What if the average American spent 153 hours a month reading books, or spending quality time with their children, or boning up on the issues of the day, or researching what their local leaders, their politicians have been doing in their names? What if they went out and volunteered for the needy, for the helpless and the homeless 153 hours a month? We'd be living in the Garden of Eden. Instead, we sit on our fat asses, munching chips, watching garbage on television. When we come back, we're going to go through some more of this, my friends. I'm not letting anyone off the hook. This is real truth, and it's exactly what you're getting. We'll be right back.
The Beth Messiah congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal mid-Rosh and fellowship. Beth Messiah congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath. If catastrophe struck, would your family be prepared? Are you confident you wouldn't react in a panic? Is there one place to get all of your emergency supplies? Ferris Survival encourages you to have confidence through preparation, not panic through crisis. Ferris Survival, located at 3366 South Broadway, is a professional, reputable, full-service business providing quality, realistic preparedness supplies at an affordable price. Go online, stop by, or call 303-781-0343. Ferris Survival.
If you're spending hard-earned money on supplements, you need to know about BioSuperfood because you're probably shortchanging yourself on nutrition and value. If you're buying products claiming to provide DNA protection from radiation, you're getting ripped off by inferior copycat products because there's no other product developed or researched like BioSuperfood. BioSuperfood is one complete superfood product that addresses radiation poisoning, allergies, arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, and other degenerative diseases. BioSuperfood helps digestion, decreases pain and inflammation, increases flexibility, improves heart health and brain function. It boosts your immune system and even inhibits the AIDS virus in cancerous cells. It's an antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory. BioSuperfood is not another supplement. It's a whole food and contains over 5,000 nutrients. Call now and ask about your special discounts on your BioSuperfood purchase at 303-257-7576. That's 303-257-7576 or biosuperfood@hotmail.com.
Welcome back to Real Truth, my friends. I'm going to interrupt this economic collapse story on who owns the media to get a few words from Dick Morris about the issue of school choice and education for our children. We spend enough time putting crap and garbage into our children's heads. Let's learn how to put something better into our children's heads. Let's listen to Dick Morris.
Is sweeping this country. School reform and school choice. That's what we'll chat about in our video today. You know, everybody focuses on national and federal issues, and they're right to do so. But at the state level, there have been amazing changes this year. And I'm touring the country this week, I was in Denver, St. Louis, Charlotte, North Carolina, Miami, and Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I'll be talking about school choice at each of those stops. It's National School Choice Week, the second year we've had that. The idea that you can feel free to buy whatever refrigerator you want, whatever car you want, live wherever you want. But the most important thing in the world, which is where your child goes to school and who he or she has as a teacher, you have no control over whatsoever. It's programmed for you by the bureaucrats that run the schools. It's socialism. Unless you're rich enough to be able to opt out and go to a school that you can afford to pay for. In fact, it's really the civil rights issue of our time. We have school integration, of course, but all the rich people opt out and go to private schools, and none of the poor people can afford to do that. And the result is that public education has become a monopoly, which does not serve the needs of the students and exists largely to serve the needs of the teachers' union. Now, all across the country, governors are breaking this mold. In Pennsylvania, they now are doing school choice in Pittsburgh. In Tennessee, they're doing it in Memphis. In Wisconsin, they're doing it in Milwaukee. In Indiana, they're doing it statewide. Arizona, too. Idaho as well. Oklahoma. Tremendous changes in the way we have our public education system. And, of course, the great movements of pioneers like Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, about forcing teachers to pay a portion of their health insurance and of their pensions and mandating that the dues are not automatically collected by the union, but also making sure that we have no teacher tenure for bad teachers. We have a capacity to replace teachers that aren't doing well. But the efforts to encourage school choice, maligned is the voucher system, but it's a very good system. What it says is we take the state share of what we pay for education, and we let the parent decide who gets the money. Is it the existing public school? Is it another public school? Is it a church school? Is it a charter school? A private school? It's up to the parent. And the school has to pass certain standardized tests. It has to be at a certain level of curriculum. And if the school isn't good, the state can close it down. But the point is that parents can vote with their feet to go to the right school. I was speaking at a rally last year in Orlando, I think, and the teachers' union was picketing, and one of them shouted and heckled at me, "Which of our schools are you going to close?" And I shot back, "The empty ones." The ones where the parents have taken their kids out because it's a failing school and sent them to a school that can work. And it is absolutely vital to our education system, and the change, you can feel it rumbling under our feet. It's an amazing revolution that's going on. So it's National School Choice Week. Thanks very much for watching.
My friends, listen, this stuff about education for your children, that's crap. Who cares about that? More important is, who's dating the Kardashians this week? That's what I want to know. Back to the Economic Collapse blog. Americans begin to feel physically uncomfortable if they go too long without watching or listening to something. Sadly, most Americans have become absolutely addicted to news and entertainment, and the ownership of all that news and entertainment that we crave is being concentrated in fewer and fewer hands each year. The 6 corporations that collectively control U.S. media today are Time Warner, Walt Disney, Viacom, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, CBS Corporation, and NBC Universal. Together, the Big 6 absolutely dominate news and entertainment in the United States. But even those areas of the media that the Big 6 do not completely control are becoming increasingly concentrated. For example, Clear Channel now owns over 1,000 radio stations across the United States. Companies like Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft are increasingly dominating the Internet. But it's the Big 6 that are the biggest concerns. When you control what Americans watch, hear, and read, you gain a great deal of control over what they think. They don't call it programming for nothing. Back in 1983, it was bad enough that about 50 corporations dominated U.S. media. But since that time, power over the media has rapidly become concentrated in the hands of fewer and fewer people. In 1983, 50 corporations dominated most of every mass medium, and the biggest media merger in history was a $340 million deal. In 1987, the 50 companies had shrunk to 29. In 1990, 29 had shrunk to 23. In 1997, the biggest firms numbered 10 and involved the $19 billion Disney-ABC deal, at the time the biggest media merger ever. In 2000, AOL, Time Warner's $350 billion merged corporation was more than 1,000 times larger than the biggest deal of 1983. Today's 6 colossal, okay. The chart below, and my friends, when you follow the link on my Facebook page, Real Truth Radio, you'll see this chart. The chart below reveals only a small fraction of the media outlets that these 6 behemoths actually own. For Time Warner, the properties it owns includes Home Box Office, Time Inc., Turner Broadcasting System, Warner Brothers Entertainment, TMZ, New Line Cinema, Time Warner Cable, Cinemax, Cartoon Network, TBS, TNT, America Online, MapQuest, Moviefone, Castle Rock, Sports Illustrated, Fortune, Marie Claire, and People Magazine. Walt Disney owns ABC Television Network, Disney Publishing, ESPN, Disney, SoapNet, A&E, Lifetime, Buena Vista Home Entertainment, Buena Vista Theatrical Productions, Disney Records, Hollywood Records, Miramax Films, Touchstone Pictures, Walt Disney Pictures, Pixar Animation Studios, Buena Vista Games, Hyperion Books, etc. My friends, I will not bore you with a complete list of the other 4 companies' holdings. We'll move on. These gigantic media corporations do not exist to objectively tell the truth to the American people. Rather, the primary purpose of their existence is to make money. My friends, be very careful whose voices you're listening to. We'll be right back.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, The feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work on it. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1 through 3. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. CINN stations in Alt salutes our troops. Whether you're for the war or against it, they're still there. These men and women deserve more than our support. They deserve the comfort of home. Send a military care package today. Just type military care package into a search engine, point, and click. Let's show our troops we care. This message from CINN stations in Alt, wishing Godspeed to our fighting men and women and thanking them for their triumphs and their sacrifices. Restore Health and Counseling salutes the men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedoms. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve as they have fought hard to restore peace. America's troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. That's from Restore Health and Counseling at 4705 Paris Street, serving Northeast Denver with complete substance abuse counseling for adolescents to adult and for private as well as professional drug, alcohol screening and treatment and rehabilitation. Visit us at www.rhctherapy.com or call 303-373-1188.
And welcome back to Real Truth. Item from the Associated Press, Dateline, Middleborough, Massachusetts. Residents in Middleborough voted Monday night to make the foul-mouthed pay fines for swearing in public. Stop! My friends, I told you yesterday at the beginning of the show that perhaps the most insidious type of conspiracy is one that pushes people to conspire against themselves. Now, here are the residents of Middleborough, Massachusetts, voting to fine people for utilizing their free speech. Now, I know swearing is not exactly the preferred method of free speech, but it's speech. The right of free speech means we're allowed to say things that tick other people off, that people find objectionable, things that drive people up a wall. Now, I'm not someone who swears a lot, and I don't especially appreciate people around me swearing, but I also don't appreciate having my right of free speech taken away from me or being penalized for exercising it. But I am not one of the intellectual wizards of Middleborough, Massachusetts. At a town meeting, residents voted 183 to 50 to approve a proposal from the police chief to impose a $20 fine on public profanity. Officials insist the proposal was not intended to censor casual or private conversations, but instead to crack down on loud, profanity-laden language used by teens and other young people in the downtown area and public parks. Stop, my friends, that is a meaningless definition, a meaningless division. You know as well as I do that someone will complain and some cop will write a ticket, whether or not it's a profanity-laden tirade being used by young people in a park. It's the first step towards reining in free speech, even more than it's already reined in. It's a stupid-ass thing to do, and I blame the yutzes in Massachusetts and Middleborough for making it a reality. Item from Infowars.com. The people of North Dakota will go to the polls today to decide if the state should abolish property taxes. The measure is opposed by the State Chamber of Commerce, agribusiness, government unions, politicians, and others feeding at the public trough. Stop. That is exactly right. Who are the people squawking? The people who get the money, get the taxes. Why are they squawking? Because they want money. It doesn't get any simpler than this. Politicians like North Dakota Governor Jack Dalrymple oppose the measure. As should be expected, the establishment media is attempting to demonize the move. Quote, Measure 2, as the proposal is called on the ballot, would require state governments to make up for property tax revenue lost by local governments but doesn't specify how. The property tax is the foundation of local government services, says Connie Sprincenak, executive director of the North Dakota League of Cities. It's the predictable source of revenue to pay for police and fire and other local services in the community where you live. The opposition has raised $500,000 to defeat the proposed law. Stop. My friends, only last week I was working on an article. I was researching the economic health of North Dakota. Do you know that North Dakota is an economic miracle? It is growing. It is prospering. It's getting younger. Industry is flourishing. Everything's going right. And so the government decided, you know what, we don't need all that money. We're doing fine without it. And the people who have their faces in the public trough are screeching like stuck pigs, which they are. Government doesn't have a right to our money. Don't use scare tactics to try and make people think that there aren't going to be any more policemen or firemen now. North Dakota's doing just fine. They can afford to cut back the taxes. In fact, so can all the other 49 states. We'll be back tomorrow with more Real Truth. My friends, do me a favor. Turn the TVs off. Turn the parenting skills up. Give your kids a hug and a kiss. They deserve it. So do you. See you tomorrow.